Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
Hey, what's up everybody? Irrelevant Toast here, and today I'm going to be talking about a build that I've made. It's an AR DPS PVE build, and it's going to really get people ready for the raids and the higher level content that's coming out later with Tidal Basin. So let's just jump right into the build and see what we got going on here. Okay guys, here we are in my inventory, and we're going to talk about weapon mods and the character sheet and all that. But first, let's look up here where it says how much firearms and skill power and armor attributes I got here. 5 firearm attributes. You don't need 10 firearm attributes to get damage in this game. There are ways around it. The way the talents work, you can get plenty of damage from your talents. If you know what talents are going to come on what pieces, which is why I'll leave a link in the description to a spreadsheet that I've been using that helped me kind of put this build together. And before I go any further, let me say that it's nowhere near perfect. There's a lot of pieces in this build that can be changed. For one, let's talk about this Le Mans medium breather right here. The only reason I'm using it is obviously isn't for the accuracy, it's for the damage to elites and hard hitting. So when you add those together, you're getting 56% damage to elites. That's almost 60, and I feel like 60 is probably the highest you can get on a mask. So why would I use anything else as a mask? So now that we have that out of the way, I think it's pretty obvious to everyone watching this video that brand sets are not the most important thing to go for in this game. Sure, there are a few brand sets that I do like, the 1-piece or 2-piece, but not too many 3-piece brand sets that I like for this build, especially since I'm using an AR. Okay, so let's talk about the assault rifle that I'm using. Military P416 is probably by far my favorite assault rifle in the game. It has decent RPM and it has decent base damage, which is really what I need for a build like this to work the way I want it to. Close and personal, obviously. Rate of fire, obviously. In rhythm, I feel like is a really good third place talent, especially for DPS players, and here's why. While equipped, enemy kills have a 5% chance to refresh. Active skill cooldowns can occur once every minute. So that means that I'm going to be doing a lot of DPS and killing a lot of enemies more than, say, a healer on my team would. So I'm also going to have the really long cooldowns, which means that it's nice to have a chance for me to get those cooldowns back, especially if I'm using stuff like a Revive Hive, which is a 4-minute cooldown, so it's nice to get that back as soon as I can. I would also like to say before we move on from the weapons that I feel as though Lastly on a pistol is really strong. While holstered, you're able to resist 5 ensnare attempts. It can occur once every minute. To me, that's really strong. You don't even realize that it's working until you look down when the battle's over and you see that it's on cooldown because it was used. Really gets you out of some tight spots. Especially, I feel like the higher level content, you're going to have a lot of guys throwing foam at you. So it's nice to get away from that and not be ensnared and have to hold F to get out of that shit, because you'd rather just do DPS, right? Okay, now we're going to talk about the gear that I'm wearing, and more accurately, I want to talk about the talents and attributes. I already spoke about the mask and how it's the only place where I can get close to 60% damage to elites, and that's really important because you can't roll damage to elites on anything except for the mask. You can get hard hitting on all pieces, but damage to elites only comes on the mask. So now I'm going to talk about the chest piece that I'm using. It is a Fenris Group AB, and what I really like about this chest piece is that I'm able to get 2 talents on it, one being Berserk and also damage to elites from hard hitting. I feel like those are really important to have on any chest piece, especially for PvE. One plus though is that the chest piece is one of 2 pieces of gear where you're able to roll weapon damage, and you can also get it on your backpack. So the backpack and the chest piece are the only pieces on my gear, or any gear, honestly, where you can get weapon damage, which is really important because you have things like up close and personal talents that stack weapon damage. So it's best to get the weapon damage as high as you can, so that the things that stack weapon damage, the talents that do, can really use those. So now we're going to talk about the holster and the gloves that I'm wearing. The holster that I'm wearing is Wyvern, but that's not too important. The crit damage is kind of nice, but I could go without the drone skill power. The real reason why I'm wearing this holster and this glove is because I get critical hit chance, which is nice, quite a bit, and devastating. Devastating gives me 5% weapon damage, and it only comes on 2 pieces of gear. It only comes on your gloves, and it only comes on your holster. So it's really important to get those there because not everything that you fight is an elite. I could go with damage to elites or hard hitting on these pieces of gear for talents, but not everything is an elite. So it's nice to be able to deal damage to purples or name bosses or reds. You know, it's nice to do damage overall. And like I said, base weapon damage will scale higher with things like up close and personal, or you know, other things that scale with weapon damage. So Berserk is going to scale with your base weapon damage. So it's just really nice to get your weapon damage up as high as you can, especially with a low crit build like this AR build that I'm running. Okay, now I want to talk about the knee pads that I'm wearing, the Fenris Group AB, for the protection from elites for the 2-piece, which is really nice. And also hard hitting and patience. I'm able to have 2 talents, an active and a passive on this pair of knee pads, so that's really nice having 2 talents there. It's really going to help out as far as damage goes and sustainability. One thing I do want to mention before I move on is that since I've only got 5 firearm attributes, I'm still able to use Safeguard on my backpack, and that's going to scale with patience, and it's going to scale with my armor on kill and my armor regeneration. So that's going to be really nice and give me a lot of sustain while I'm doing all that damage, which is really cool. And the thing about Division 2 is they really want you to be in cover a lot. Obviously, it's a cover-based shooter, but people don't understand, even without a talent that gives you extra stability in cover, you gain stability while you're in cover. So if you're in cover, you're laser beaming everything, and you're healing up, and you're just doing tons of damage, and it's just really nice just to move from target to target, one down after another while you're in cover. And you're not really losing much life. So that's a really nice point that I want to make about this build, is the ability to keep Safeguard on my backpack. Okay, now I want to talk about specializations and what I'm using. I'm using the Survivalist, obviously, but not just for the assault rifle damage. I'm also using it for the protection from elites. You get 15% more. That stacks on with the 10% you have from the 2-piece Fenris. Also, the medkit heals your teammates, but if you have Safeguard proc, it pretty much heals you straight up, like immediately, not over time, as long as Safeguard is proc. Also, one thing to note is that Survivalist Tactical Link gives group members get 10% bonus damage to targets with status effects. This specialization gives you flame grenades, and it also gives you a bolt that does flame damage. So your group members are going to be doing a lot more damage to those targets when you use those, which is really nice. So all in all, those are the perks I really like about this this tree right here. So I recommend obviously using it not just for the base damage, but for what I just spoke about there. So before I go any further with the video, I would like to show you what weapon mods I'm using on my military P416. First, I'm using the C79 scope. It gives me 15% damage to elites. I'm obviously using the 30 rounds extra light extended magazine. I'm also using the crit chance laser pointer. And instead of going with the damage to elites muzzle brake, I went with stability. And I have a really good reason for that, and I'll show you guys right now. Okay guys, so now I want to go through my character sheet here. I'm going to scroll down slowly and go through a couple points of interest that I want to point out. Critical hit chance is almost 25%, so that's almost 1 out of every 4 bullets is going to crit. Headshot damage is really more important to me than anything. I could lose some crit chance and get some headshot damage like on the holster, but I just didn't get a piece. I was rolled to it and I modified the wrong part, so it is what it is. I'd rather have 10% stability than negative 20% stability, obviously. 116% damage to elites. That could be higher. I had it to almost 160, but I feel like having devastating on my holster and my gloves is more important than hard hitting, and also having stability on my compensator is more important than damage to elites, at least for me and the way I play it is. Max health and max armor isn't too bad. I've seen a lot of glass cannon builds that want to do an AR DPS build, and they're way lower than what these numbers are, so you can still be, you know, average tankiness and still do a shit ton of damage. So I mean, it's not that big a deal. But yeah, that's about it for the character sheet.